Mr. Chairperson, I have 7 o'clock.
All right, let's do a call to order. Scott, do you have roll call?
I do. I've actually got everybody marked. And they're going to be here so we can move up. Other than I lock somebody out there. Welcome, Lindsay. Sorry for locking you out. The dance music was coming in that direction.
All right, do we have a motion to approve September minutes? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, meeting minutes approved for September. Next up, other comments? I have a feeling there's no one on there.
We have to do this.
Okay. Old business? Assuming nothing there, Scott.
Correct. There was no old business.
Okay. And then new business?
So the first item was that the council has asked each board and commission if they have any opinions or recommendations on the Douglas Hill redevelopment project specific to that commission. And so if you have any thoughts, I welcome them. If you have questions on my thoughts, that will help inform your thoughts. I'm happy to answer anything that I may know. I'll just start by saying there is a park that is included in it, the southern eastern edge of the sculpture park, which is at Gore and Kirkham, is in the redevelopment proposal. They are trying to acquire that triangle on that side of the street. They're hoping to use some of the TIF money, if awarded TIF, to enhance that area and make that part of a larger gathering space. You've seen some of the renderings that show kind of like a farmer's market tinted area. That would be the beginning of that area. They're actually hoping to have an artist firm out of Toronto, I believe, that's going to come in the next couple of weeks and do some public information about some of their design thoughts that they would be looking to enhance that area and add more interactive art, kind of like I want to say it's City Walk, but that's not the right name. The park that's down right by the Sarah sculpture in downtown St. Louis, City Garden, I think, City Walk, right? Kind of like that, there's some interactive art features in there. That's the kind of the stuff that I think they're looking for.
So I'm sorry, I'm confused. There's those 2 triangles at the bottom of the floor. It's only going to be one of them?
The left.
One, the left one to the west or the east?
If you're coming down Gore to Kirkham, it would be the one.
Oh,
Is that kind of the mosaic-y one?
That's the one that's got the egg sculptures. Yeah, it's got
okay.
not the one with the bird, not the one with the bird and the flower. The others.
Okay.
Yeah. So, other than that, for parks, adding that much density in that area, obviously, these people that live there are probably going to go use Larson Park. They're probably going to use Barbie Park. Hopefully, walk on the Greenway Trail, whatever the next phase of the Greenway Trail comes through. Part of that, they're hoping to build in that process. So we'll have more people using parks. I don't see that as being a big detriment, as long as they pick up that waste and things like that. I'm a little nervous that they haven't really said what kind of retail space they're going to put in. If they were to put in a Lifetime Fitness or a Club Fitness or something like that as one of their retail spaces, that could obviously draw members out of here to there. That would be detrimental. I haven't heard them wanting that, but I was trying to see if we could make that a non-starter as part of their agreement. I was told we can't.
You were told to not.
I asked. Yeah, it's not something that we would write into the agreement saying we could do that from a claiming stage. So none of those agreements have been written yet. So that would be from council that came from other And then there's the green space issue with, obviously that whole space is basically gonna be clear cut, so that they can do all the dirt work before they come back in and rebuild and replant stuff. So there's no way that they would be able to replant the same amount of calipers of trees that are there. That's pretty normal in any development, almost in any house build in Webster, whatever, Webster got a lot of old growth trees. So anytime someone rebuilds their house, they can never replace them all. So there's mechanisms already in place that you have to replace those inches of trees somewhere else in the city, or donate, or not donate, pay the city into a fund, so that the city then goes and plants trees and parks and all that. So there's already mechanisms in the tree and landscape ordinance that provide for that to happen. Personally, I don't see a lot of high value trees in that area. If you walk that area, it's a lot of honeysuckle, it's a lot of scrub trees, but there are a few nice specimen trees in there. For my personal stance, I wouldn't stop a multi-million-dollar development for 4 trees. I don't like cutting down trees, but I'm not gonna chain myself to the redwood, to stop a huge development. Not, maybe if we had a redwood, I might actually chain myself to a white oak, a 40-year-old white oak. So that's my thoughts on it, as far as how it relates to the parks and recreation. But if you got any other questions, I'm happy.
When you look at it, Scott, do you think, this is way beyond my pay grade. I know it's dense, I know that they've got that adjacent park, but that's not gonna be in the middle of the development per se. Would we be in a position to assess it and look and recommend that there be more space or green within the development itself, and is that even possible? I'm sure Better Eyes, I'm seeing you shaking your head.
I would just, in fact, this is a large cog here, and I don't know how much say we're gonna have, something like that, I could be wrong.
Right, well, they solicited what we have to say in terms of green space. So that was just one question. If we look at it, we go, okay, we're all about green space and parks, and we don't see, maybe this is appreciably denser than anything else in the city. That's one. Then the flip side of that is, it seems like often when we assess our current parks, something that we consider is not misuse of the parkland, but maybe problematic use of parkland, like people loitering, people, defacing, that kind of thing. And is anything in this development gonna be prone to that sort of misuse or kind of undesirable use in terms of its space?
The second part of that, I think, all depends on who moves in. If you get a bunch of 14-year-old boys moved in there, yep, you're gonna have people misusing it. But we have vandalism that happens in not every park, but every other park. Every year anyways. This year's been particularly bad for vandalism. Here around the rec center and skate park. A couple of the parks has been hit quite a bit.
There's not really a protocol for
It just, no, you can't. You try to look at, you try to get the police to drive through those parks when they're having specific problems. It's usually a 14-year-old boy that lives next door or in the neighborhood. And sooner or later, he'll get a girlfriend or he'll turn 16 and get a car and stop doing stupid stuff. Right? You're a 14-year-old boy, I was a 14-year-old boy. That's kind of what happens. We're just dumb.
I'm sure girls can pull their weight.
There's probably a few of them there,
Yeah,
and they
right.
might be doing it to impress the girl that's there with them too, whatever, but, so I don't really see an overuse. You could put a lot of people in Barbary Park, and it would still be a big green space to go hang out in. It's very dense, but I'm not a developer, but the denser it is, the more profitable that development will be. There's some cost benefit analysis there, some ratio it's not worth their effort to build. I don't know what that is, but they're saying it's the density that they're proposing. So
Well, that river, well, it's really just like a drainage thing, but I've heard it like called the river walk.
Right.
As part of this, will that be owned by the parks to make sure that that little river is clean and taken care of, or whose responsibility is that?
No, I do not want to maintain that once they build it, because it is, you're talking Corps of Engineers, MSD, I actually think they will greatly improve the drainage and stormwater capacity in that area. Right now, there is no stormwater capacity. All the water that hits, there's nothing mitigating it. It runs down the hill. There's grass, there's honeysuckle, there's things there that slow that before it gets to the creek. But it hits the creek, and then that creek gets overloaded. And it's not just from that 8 acres, it's upstream and downstream too. What I've seen with the green roofs they're putting in place, with the underground storage they're putting in, they're collecting almost all of that water that's landing on that property will be stored on property for up to 24 hours before it gets discharged into the stream. So it's actually going to reduce flooding in that area.
I didn't know that, because a lot of stuff I was reading was like commenting about like taking down the trees, now you got even more water coming back and stopping it. So that was gonna be my question, like, are you concerned more about increased flooding in the arbory, but I didn't know all that.
So Corps of Engineers is the hardest people to deal with in the world, followed by MSD. They have to get approval through them before anything happens. So the city doesn't really. The city is the actual grantor and the police of it through MSD, but they have to get MSD's stamp of approval before it comes to the city, and the city manages the building process of it to make sure they're following what the plan that MSD approved was to do. So they're gonna rip out all that creek, they're gonna channelize it, it'll look differently than it does now. I don't believe it will look like a natural creek, it will be concrete channelized, there'll be a sidewalk right next to it, like you see in the drawings. But I think it will reduce flooding.
It'll be better for that neighborhood.
It'll be better for
I lived in that house to
Yeah.
rent, and right on that street, and we had to have insurance for flooding. It was every house in that street, so I think they want that.
Yeah.
People that live there to be made bigger, because it's not, the natural creek doesn't work from there.
Yeah, so that center roadway between, those two sets of buildings, underneath that entire center roadway, from what I see in the plans, is a cistern storage. And so several hundred, maybe 100,000 gallons or something, it was really large underground storage. So all the water that comes off the gutters and the roofs and everything will go into that. And then, it's got an outflow pipe of that huge storage cistern of like a 2-inch outflow pipe. So only 2 inches at a time can then be discharged down to the creek. So it'll take up to 24 hours to discharge that entire.
I think it'll lower the smell at large at times too, because it'll keep the water moving faster, and so you won't have like stagnant, sticky water sitting. And then that creek can get smelly. The kids still want to play by it, but it's like a small time.
So how about restrooms and trash cans and all of that at maybe Barber Park, since will be a heavier flow of people? Is that something you consider?
Restrooms, I don't think, at this point, I would love to put restrooms in that park. It's not busy enough, it's not dense enough. I don't think people even going to that park from this development, you're a block away. If you gotta go to the bathroom, are you gonna go to a park bathroom, or are you gonna walk back to your condo or your apartment? I'm walking back.
I guess
And I'm in Parks and Rec.
Not
Park bathrooms are just not the cleanest bathrooms. So, they get cleaned once a day, maybe 100
Say, I
people.
don't think Larson's not
Well, if you hit it the right time of day,
Okay,
you might be
you know,
right.
I've seen it, I've seen it.
They get cleaned once a day, and there might be 100 people that use it.
Black
So,
Mountain stays pretty
Yeah, Southwest.
well, I'm glad I'm hearing this.
You gotta calm me down.
Yeah.
And I guess it was like more concerned like out of town, people not living in their tear up the park because there's not facilities, trash cans, whatever.
No, I mean, the folks that are coming for retail space that you're talking about that may be out of town, all the retail space is gonna have restrooms and whatever it may be, whether they're restaurants or whether they're.
Where are the retail spaces?
All the first floors.
Are them facing
Yeah.
the park?
No,
Or is that like-
the first floor on the main streets, both sides and the upper side, are all retail. The side facing Kirkham, the lower levels are actually all condos and apartments. Cause that's technically under grade. They're counting that, those bottom two levels there.
Is that on floor or
That's facing Kirkham.
facing, yeah. So will they look, those residences will look right out at the river walk?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all have patios that we added onto it. So, which could be kind of cool.
Go back to some of the businesses, so they're reading like the gym center, which I sent my kid to, like all those, like, they don't wanna move. And so, and there was like eminent domain thrown out there.
Yeah, that hasn't been granted, but that's been discussed. I think SG is hoping not. They've asked the city council to grant.
Right.
Use.
Grant that.
They're also hoping they won't need to use it. That all comes down to how much businesses or residents think they ought to get paid for their stuff. I was in Richmond Heights when the Menards development and QT went in there, and it was supposed to be IKEA, it was supposed to be built where that Menards and QT and stuff is. There was one resident that held out and wanted for a really small 800 square foot cracker box house, wanted like $400,000 for a appraised $90,000 house, something like that. And I think they got up to offering 240 or something thousand, and they wouldn't take it. And IKEA walked away because IKEA doesn't eminent domain. And so then now QT is built directly behind that person's house, and QT's parking lot lights shine in their bedroom windows every night. And they're super upset that they didn't take the money out.
Yeah.
But they were 85, they were like 85-year-old folks, and they lived in that house for 70 years, and they didn't want to move, and they felt they were too old to go find a new spot, and I totally understood that, but as an employee at the time, I was like, I want IKEA so bad. I have raised this every year.
That's so nice.
Yeah, so yeah, if someone chose to pull out of Gym Center and said, nope, 5 million, or we're not leaving or something, then, that could hold up. I don't see how they can't maybe work a deal out. They're needing retail space. Gym Center's retail space, can they get some of the first floor space? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can they use that as part of their agreement, lease, and stay there? I don't know. That's outside of my wheelhouse, but. So things to report back to council, I'm hearing green space and trash and bathrooms. Do you have other major concerns that you guys would like me to tell council that as a Parks and Rec commission, you have worries about?
Are there any trash cans in the park at all?
In Blackburn, I'm sorry, in Barbary?
Okay.
I think there's two.
Oh, there's one.
Yeah, typically every park has at least one, but I think there's two. And if they need another one, we'll put another one, closer down,
Right.
farther south, closer to the development. If we need to put another mutt mitt thing there, we would. We've asked them, and I think that would be something we would write into the agreements, that they need to provide a small space for pets just to be taken out at night. Maybe even if it's a room this big, just a little spot where they can take a pet out to go to the bathroom at 9 o'clock before it's bedtime type of thing. So they don't go to the park and leave their waste in the park. They're still gonna go to the park to walk and play at 5 o'clock. So.
I think everything you comment is just like trees and beaver plants that are elsewhere, because there is some wildlife in that. I mean,
Sure.
like birds and what else. Need to sound and create squirrels.
Yeah, there's rabbit, fox, I'm sure there's deer that
Yeah. I mean,
migrate between,
Yeah.
Where are they gonna Larson
go?
Park and the wildlife sanctuary.
I saw 2 fox running across the from the other day.
Yeah.
I see a lot of fox.
But, there's deer that run all over through your backyards, and there's not a creek to run through there, so they'll find us, they'll find a way to get
Sad.
between A and B if they want to get there fast enough, in my opinion. And I'm a big wildlife conservationist. Or they- Oh,
I
sorry.
don't know.
Hunters are the biggest conservationists.
We had a team involved in sharp in our yards, like we see them out there killing the bucks, cause they get.
In your backyard.
Oh, yeah, they can, they'll just go and. It's crazy to think that they do that, but they do, they have to, and it's safer to do that.
And they, do they have,
No,
no, shooting guns and
Maybe both.
Oh, they
No,
do.
it's just-
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
As
so
if
it's
your
not
neighbor's
loud.
looking up.
Oh, yeah.
Backyard.
Real quick on the triangle portion of where they made, get into your opinion on that all?
Adamantly opposed. And the Arts Commission that, built that park is adamantly opposed to that. I'm opposed to it becoming to the art that we purchased and solicited and people donated for going away. I don't mind if it's, it was almost $300,000 project. I'm not opposed to that being the entrance to a larger gathering space. I think the city needs a gathering space, farmers market, small concert venue area. I think that could be cool. If they added some additional interactive artwork stuff, could be cool. I would be opposed to us walking away from that park without them making a significant financial payment of buying that piece of property. So, but I think they want to do that. I think they're interested in buying that property and owning it themselves. I'm not sure why they're so into that. I think they can use some of the TIF money to do that infrastructure artwork investment portion of it. That's how they're planning on spending some of the TIF dollars if they're awarded them. And having that be the local impact statement coming into that development. So if they want to give us $300,000 for that park that we spent, and the donors of the artwork are willing to either relocate that artwork or figure out a way that it does work in that space with what they're looking to do. I would be, but I wouldn't be in favor of just give it to them. Yeah. But
It's crazy, but isn't that of all the quadrants of it, isn't that the area where the least amount of traffic would enter the development?
it would be pedestrian entry only.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's not the, like, it seems to be a lot more people are coming in off of Rockwood, like up there.
I don't know, it depends if you're coming in from Clayton or Brentwood area, then you'd be coming in through Kirkland Avenue first thing you see.
Well, I would say, yeah, coming in from the east, but I thought you were talking about the triangle that's to the west. Are you talking about the one that's to the east?
Yeah, so, you got Kirkham and Gore, that triangle, there's. Yeah, that's a terrible triangle. And then this is Rock Hill Road, and then this is Lockwood. So they're looking at this piece right here, and they would have. This is kind of their amphitheater that they're showing, like little amphitheater seating, and this would be a plaza where you could have different tents for the farmers market and stuff. So, anybody coming from Clayton, coming south on Kirkham, that's gonna be their
I see what you're saying.
visual
I was thinking
impact.
of coming in from the Valley of Rock Hill.
Yeah, if you're coming in from Rock Hill, then you're probably not gonna see that much.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think a lot of traffic's gonna come in from Lockwood. I think they're planning on making this street one way. So everything will enter in off of Rock Hill, come into the development, and then they've got 4 big buildings. And there's underground garages, so as you come in off Rock Hill, you'll be able to enter into the underground garages to park underneath the buildings. and then you exit out onto Door. And go north or south on Door, whichever way you go, and so. And then you get the river walk would be, come through this area.
You say Blackwood, is it gonna be where Strauss? Is that part of it, or is it-
No, it's below the train tracks.
Okay, so like the St. Louis Gymnastics Center,
Yeah.
that we were talking about,
Yeah.
is that something that might be going?
Yeah, from the train tracks to Kirkland,
Okay.
and from Door to Rocket, it's all gonna be small.
Would that be something, since you're adamantly opposed to using that triangle, is that something that we could, as a, just could weigh in on and say?
Yep, just say it, I'll write her down.
So should we make this an official motion then, or not?
I don't think.
I mean, I'm just looking at the plans here online and like, it wouldn't have to take over that triangle there at all. I mean, it is.
Well,
not
what are they gonna
needed
do
Was they
whatsoever.
knocked down that yoga thing? Is that kind of like, I guess the yoga thing will be gone, like some of those? would be
No,
gone?
no,
That's on the
that's
other
on the
side.
other side, on the other side.
But I mean, like,
I don't know,
Yep,
I don't know
the
your
other side.
sound. seriously.
Rolling Ridge, this is Rolling Ridge right here, and the yoga center is right there.
Looking at it, they
Yeah.
might go on so that you can see,
Well-
they want you to see first,
What's-
rather than have that be
I get it.
in your view of sight at all.
I haven't read what, like, the Million, those guys, what's Rolling Ridge saying about?
They're worried about, they've got parking, apparently they own 4 parking lots over here somewhere, and they need those parking lots for their, because they just opened up a event center. And so that's where the event center parking is at, and I'm not exactly sure where those parking lots are at. So they are wanting this development, if it happens, to have to provide them, I think it's 80 parking spots or something like that. They're wanting them to have to provide 80 dedicated spots for their building, otherwise their building will no longer be up to code. They won't have enough spots for parking if they lose the spots. And there's nowhere else for them to get them because they keep have on-street parking on Marshall. That's part of it. Before they got their event center, they had to go find additional parking to cover the people coming to that. So that's all I've heard. That they spoke at the council meeting last week. So that's where I heard that. All right, so green space, trash, tree replacements, and opposed to losing the switch. Anything else? Good.
Right, on to discussion about future commission opportunities for fundraising.
So I will throw this out to you all. This was something that we've been talking about the last couple of meetings. But so you guys got homework last time, so kind of think about it. If there was something that you had any ideas about, so we all did last time, so I'll just open the book.
I looked into it a bit, but a lot of the stuff I was finding was for bigger fundraisers, not small ones. Like I saw one that was really cool, but then when I looked at pricing, it was we would want to do it for like a small thing. It would be neat if you're doing it for like a bigger area, but it was like a duck race where you raffle off little rubber ducks, and then you have a waterway set up.
Yep.
And then they come in and set up for you. And you have a race, so people basically buy a duck, and whoever's duck wins ends up getting a prize at the end. And you have like first, second, and third place. You can make a lot of money off it. If they usually do like 5,000 ducks, but that is a lot of ducks. So it would be for something like more. Like it looked really neat, but I was like, oh, if they had a smaller version, I thought it'd be really cool. Because it'd be something that kids would like, if you did it on the news or even pictures out of it, like, oh, my kids would love to go watch that and put money on a duck. And I was trying to figure out something smaller, but I just couldn't find anything smaller with that same type of concept. But I thought it was a neat concept because you're just kind of, it's fun, it gets people involved, but it's not a lot of, it's not like food prep or selling stuff. It's just one type of thing. So something kind of like that. I had another idea, but it was more involved, maybe too involved. Like I know some places like out in the country, if you go to like a small, what's it And like a fair, like a small fair, something you could have on the field because it wouldn't have any brackets, where you have like watermelon spin contest, or cracker eating contest, or nail driving contest. So it's a bunch of little events that people pay to participate in, and there's a prize and which isn't very much. Sometimes they even just do ribbons because it's just for fun. And that's an idea that if we ask the Lions Club if they want to sell food there, then they could make some money too. That was just one thing I thought that, I was just trying to think of things that I would want to go to if I, and so with kids, and I've been to fairs like that and they're a lot of fun. But it would be something pretty involved that we might need more help with if we were gonna do something that big, but it would be a good way to make money because it is all these people is paying to do stuff, and it's not a lot of like, you don't have to buy a lot of stuff for it other than the different types, 72 types. Other than that, I was trying to think more and I didn't have time to do a little more stuff after that.
So on your duck race idea, I've seen it a lot of times in like the lazy river pool,
I
much
thought about
smaller.
that too, I was like,
Much
oh, I
smaller.
should have somebody do
But
that.
if you wanted to do like, we need to do it every Saturday, if you had a commission member that wanted to come out. 2 o'clock on Saturday or 4 o'clock on Thursday or whatever day of the week, be multiple days or whatever. It'd be much smaller, but you need 100 ducks or something like that, $1 a duck or whatever, you just dump them in at the front of the lazy river and you let them float around, and the first one to cross the line wins, and that kid gets a free.
And I thought I wasn't sure if we were trying to do it now, because I was like, oh, the fair would work, it's about to get cool, but that, I thought lazy river, I'm like, I don't know, and I think it would be kind of cool.
That's a great
I think
idea.
it's awesome.
I just,
It would be easy, ducks are cheap.
If you get a
That's
voucher
super cheap.
for the concession stand. Yeah, what do kids want?
Yeah.
That's what my kids want.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a gift card for that matter, it could be.
Free entrance.
Could be like road spots where you can go to some, 40
Yeah.
or 50 restaurants around town, including the rec center, so you could go to the concession stand, but, maybe if you sold 50 ducks, you do a $10 gift card, like $40 out of it, $1 a piece. I mean, that's really easy, that's real simple, that's like one commission member coming and standing there for 30 minutes and collecting dollar bills and then dropping a bucket in.
If it goes well, like you said, we could do it other times.
Yeah, or you could do a bigger one and do, you could blast it, say, this is gonna be the big one that we're gonna do at the beginning of the
Right.
year. Maybe it's $5 a duck, and then if it goes really well, then you could do more of them, or do cheaper ones on a random Thursday, it's only $1.
Did you see estimates in your reading about like how much it makes?
I didn't look into it after I saw how much it cost, because it was like 70,000 for them to come set it up.
To set it up.
And it was giant, like, huge deal. It would take up half, like, and it was like a giant waterway that they bring and they put in the names. So I think it'd be something if it like a fair state or something.
Yeah.
A giant event like that, but I think that Lazy River would be perfect for it. Even though
Yeah,
it's
it'd be super fun, yeah.
it would be fun. I know my kids would love it. All those machines that have the variety of ducks.
You can even have different heats where it's like 5 each, so
I like it.
100, and then you
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
a different box.
I think we just have to figure out.
Good old gambling ring going on.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Horse
Going, and then you just kind of lift it up or pull it back.
What I really like about that is the outsourcing of the work, like
Oh, that's
the
good.
setup and which we kind of do with the Lions Fair. And so my ideas kind of had that same idea, like what can we outsource to bring in money? And, do you guys want more?
Sure,
ideas
yeah.
on it too? Since St. Louis is getting to be such a foodie town, and I know lots of foodies who don't think they're foodies, but they are. A food truck festival, so just because we could charge an admission just to be on site, we could charge then the trucks to be here so that they could, because so many of them are really front runners. And so then we're getting money from everybody here and then they just, so, and then it's like a cleanup, so, and I don't know how much we can make, but the food truck game in this town is big, so that was one.
Where would you do it?
Probably somewhere where we do like, maybe on the blacktop, You know, and so you could guard the entrances, you'd have to, yeah, like here, so, because the trucks probably can't pull, they probably can't pull out of the grass.
If you guys do it for the art fair on the side there.
Yeah.
There's things to do on the side. Hell, like for those.
You know, Blackburn, you could do the parking lot on Edgar Road.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, would be, that's a nice long parking lot, so you could set up 10 trucks in there.
Yeah.
You know, against Jackson facing into the park,
Yeah,
and then people could buy and walk up into the park. and
so
take
the
pictures.
trick would be probably wristbands, so that the trucks would agree not to sell to anybody without wristband, and then it's cost $5, $10.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I will say the hard part, I've tried to do some food truck things before. It's your third year, every food truck wants to come. The first year,
Oh.
nobody wants to come because they don't know how many people.
They want to guarantee
Gotcha.
how many are we feeding.
Yeah.
and-
So if you can
Yeah.
pre-sell wristbands, say we're gonna have, you know, 200 people have already bought a wristband, so
Okay.
2 people are gonna come, we're only gonna allow 5 trucks.
But
So
then
they know
that's
they're
a-
gonna get 40 people to buy or
That's
whatever.
amazing.
Yeah,
It would be if I were a food truck vendor, I'd be like, I don't want to.
because they
Yeah.
don't know how much inventory to buy, how long they're gonna have to be there. You
Yeah.
know, they don't wanna buy $2,000 worth of food and only sell
Yeah.
200.
I was on the farmer's market, board, we tried a food truck night there, and we got bad weather. And
Oh.
it was like horrible, and I was just crushed it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a great idea, you're right, I mean,
I
that would
wonder if
kill.
we
on
could
a
do it
great
at
time.
all in conjunction with the Fourth, but there's already food there, and if you were, yeah, I don't know. But I do have another idea, and that is very old school, so don't laugh at me, because I am old. But, remember how there's like dance-a-thon? So in order to get people interested in our empty workout facility, and we have to be a little bit past masks to do it, but a workout-a-thon where people like got sponsors and said, you know, for every 10 minutes, we get $1, whatever, you know, how, I don't know what the dimensions would be. But then it's just literally you open your doors and people who don't work out here could do it to make money for the city. We can maybe even fund a couple of charity things to get Soft Hearts involved. We don't necessarily want to fund Parks and Rec, but they would fund something else. They come, they see the facility and they're like, dang, why am I not working out here? So it's partially sales facility, and then you could have an adjunct event within summer, maybe for little kids, like a splash-a-thon, like how long can you stay in kiddie pool? Or people, kids who are old enough to sell to their neighbors, would you sponsor me for the splash-a-thon and then make more money, making kids sell.
Right.
So, yeah, right? Why did he have you? You can't make this money, right? Yeah.
Would you like, on a random day, or would you do like a New
I don't
Year's
know,
celebration?
that's as far as my
type thing?
thinking went, I just
Okay.
thought, I was really trying to think of ideas where we could, sort of farm out some of the sales of this, so we're not just like throwing a gala that, or something, where everybody comes in, we do all the work. And you
Yeah.
beg people to come and have dinner and give you $50 and you pay them $45 for food,
We do that for the farmers market.
Right,
I don't know if I was there for that
It actually was really nice to look.
yeah, I
But,
do actually like.
one. Was that,
It was like the very last year.
why am I drawing a blank? Frank Johnson, did he?
Yeah, he donated almost everything. so,
Right.
And then we still only did $2,000, which is not only $2,000, only $2,000. But it was 20, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the workout-a-thon, if you got, I think you could get a partner like the American Heart Foundation or something like that to
Yeah.
be involved too, and they could market that, and
All those people with
you
red
donate
hearts on
half of the money back to, American Heart Association or something like that, then we'd still make some money, and to your point, you bring maybe new people in who would then see the facility. Oh, that's a nice workout.
I mean, do we have the capacity to open up the facility to non-members for an event like that? And then, yeah, come and try it out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do, I mean, anybody that walks in here can get a free 2-week membership,
Okay.
just go, so.
There you go.
So yeah, for sure, we could do a day like that.
Well, give me a minute, I might come up with some ideas, but that's it, for starters.
So one I had was, I was trying to think of a way to like connect some of the parks. Like, since we are the Parks and Rec department, like how can we kind of like let people know what the different parks we have? And so I was like, well, maybe we'll do a run. I'm like, but I was
Yes.
like, that would be far as heck. like some of the parks.
That is literally one of mine as well, like we take
Well,
a few.
So we could do that. I was like, there's not a lot of runs. Ivory Crossing gets a lot of hype. Then I was like, what if we did like a bike-a-thon kind of thing? Because there are I see a lot of bikers like riding in groups, and then we don't have to do all the parks, but it'd be like Larson, Barnacle to Southwest, and then I'm big on like running. I used to do things where I would like run and then have a beer.
Right.
So maybe at the first we do something like donut. It's like a donut
Yeah.
kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe beers would be.
Well,
Maybe you
I-
can't drink
I
in
think some of
parks.
them do both, like where it's like you stop at one stop, you get a
Yeah.
donut. We could even tie it into some Webster businesses that are, hey, one stop
Yeah.
is, you know,
Have donut.
perennial or whatever.
Yeah, have a
and then-
beer.
Yeah.
Have a macaroon.
I think the beer ones go better than, well, macaroons might.
Oh, I was thinking about macaroons. But it
Yeah,
could be
you're
like
Yeah.
I was like, there's a lot of bikers, but that might be something like middle school people could be okay with, like being on the roads.
Try
So if we don't wanna get, oh.
Started.
Yeah, another thought could be like a scavenger hunt at the different parks. Some kind of
Oh,
scavenger
that's
hunt or
good.
something like
We
that.
don't like to block off streets.
That's the issue with bikes and runs, is, how many people you have really blocking off all the different.
What's the game, the internet thing where people go looking for geocaching? Something, yeah, because like I was at Tillis Park and it was overrun one day and I'm like, who are you people? And they're all.
Oh, probably Pokemon.
Yeah, it was, that was it. It was stunning how many hundreds. of
It's
people.
so weird.
It's
Yeah.
so bizarre.
What are they
So lame, that's what you.
Right? They actually weren't making all that much. They're mostly scary.
But yours, I mean, how much does the Ivy Crockett net, do you know if that makes any money? I mean, that's where it'd be like, okay, what's gonna give us more money, biking or running? And then, you know, some of those things are, once it's set up, you just have some volunteers and then you're not
I
having
think
to.
you probably get more people to come to a run / fun walk.
This is
than a bike.
educational. My daughters both worked on that and loved doing that. I think they make a chunk.
Turkey Day run brings about 40 grand to back to Webster,
Wow.
but that's 5,000 people,
Right.
Yeah.
so.
But if we do a run or whatever, because there's turkey, there's Santa. I do Santa on the loose.
I was looking forward to July.
Yeah,
We
like-
got already, you know, a lot of the festivities kind of going on, people
Right.
coming into the neighborhood there. The weather is a little bit, well, if you go in the morning, you know, it'd be better.
Police
but-
are gonna send out,
Are they?
they don't have the manpower to shut any more streets down because they're already working tons of overtime that week.
Maybe like an end of school, it just would be good to kind of like, there's heavy on the runs later in the year, because they just had Ivory Crockett, there's Thanksgiving, Santa, so if we kind of did a run in the spring. like-
Yeah.
I don't think there's very many springtime.
Like right when it gets warm enough.
Is
that
the
people can
Jim
join
Shane
in.
one still going? Like, is that, I
I
haven't
don't
heard about
know.
that for a
My
while.
daughters have been out
I
of high
used to-
school for a
yeah,
minute, but
running
yeah,
it.
they were making that, I know, like the year that they both were really heavily involved, they made more money than ever. I could actually text them right now and say, how much did you guys make at Jim Shamel? But it's Mrs. Seavey is the marketing teacher. I can't imagine that she stopped doing it, but
Because Ivy Crockett now, I want to say for an adult is $30 and you're getting a cheap t-shirt.
Right.
Yes, I mean, your net is pretty good. But
Yeah, because timing, if you do a timed event, I'm not even sure if Crockett is a timed one, but I think we pay, for Turkey Day, I think we pay $1,500 to $2,000 to start with, and then we get the first 2,000 racers, and then the racer above that, we pay another $1 or something like that. So your all-in cost for that event are like $7,500.
Yeah.
And we're bringing in 75,000 that we split with Kirkwood, so. Yeah, there's money to be had on those. It's just finding the right route and course, that you can shut down.
was it just bring the city up or something like that, or is it usually a big park?
Oh, I think they're probably talking into something.
Did it early?
Where it can get interesting though is if you end it, I mean, where my kids love the Ivory Crockett is there's a pancake breakfast after, and you're gonna make $15 per person, you know, more there, so potentially get a vendor if we end somewhere that's got, you know, the ability to do that and squeeze more, you know, so.
Yeah, so yeah, it's finding a route. And you're right, if you had a place where you could have an add-on at the end of it.
Ended at a park, you know, something along those lines, or is that possible to rent a park?
We own the
Yeah,
parks, we can do whatever we want with the
Yeah.
parks.
Yeah, and then
It's the
ours-
streets getting to the parks that are, you know,
I don't wanna, I didn't need to step on the bike idea though, that is.
No, I was thinking run, and then I was like, I guess where I was sort of going was like, how do we connect to the parks? And then I was looking, and I'm like, that's a far run between, but maybe we at least end at one.
How far is southwest of that?
A mile.
Yeah.
I would say if you're
Greenway,
gonna do
just-
something, I would get on the Greenway. You know, maybe we start at Deer Creek Park, maybe we can start at the Maplewood side. Or where the new park might be, the old McDonald's, somehow start over there, because we've got all the parking in the shopping plaza, Deer Creek Shopping Plaza there. You run down the Greenway, which takes you through Deer Creek Park, takes you along Barnacle Park, takes you through Marshall Avenue Trailhead. If you cross Brentwood, it's a little tricky, that's a county road, but then it goes into Lorraine Davis Park, from there you can go up Diet Crockett, you can go, keep going down Kirkham to Glen or Sculpture Park, finish in Larson, or actually finish in Larson might not be bad, and just go all the way up Kirkham.
We could have, I mean, it started because well, Lindsay knows I just ran a marathon, and so I was doing a lot of tracking on a map. And I was, what if, because a lot of the runs are just like 5Ks, what if we had a like, when people run like a Webster run half marathon, would that be like?
Then you're gonna have to like
Wait.
outsource it to,
Yeah.
like river to river or somebody like that.
Yeah, I guess you're right, that probably be too costly now,
It-
time chips and.
That's not, I mean, again, that's only like $1,500 to make that, to start out with. It's really gonna be your route, it's not gonna be the hard part, getting the PD to buy into where the route's gonna be, shut down all those streets. And so I'm thinking if you're gonna do it, and I know you, as a runner, you probably won't like this idea, but it's gotta be a loop or it's gotta be a there and back, so you're shutting down less streets. Versus a, you know, Blackburn to Larson, the southwest, finish at Memorial, that's too many streets, crossing too many major thoroughfares. We need to pick a section of town that we can run through that doesn't cross Elm 5 times. And
Yeah.
whatever. You know, it could be a Lockwood or something, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, the Turkey, what is it, to Webster, to Kirkwood and back, that's only, what is that, 5?
6 miles.
Six.
There's
Yeah,
a
it's
total
not-
6, actually, the 3 mile doesn't even come into Webster. Only the 6 mile race comes
Right.
into Webster, so.
Well, Jim Shamewell, and I don't remember if that's a 10K or just a 5K, but
It's five.
it's just 5. So, my daughter just said they made 30,000 in 2014. So, and it's been even, I don't know if it's still around, but that, I mean, you can make a chunk of change even with a 5K, even with a shorter race. is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I think
We're just gonna be mercenary about it.
Shamel and Ivory Crockett, they use the same course to start high school, so I mean, I think, you know, it'd be nice to vary it up just to
Yeah.
give it a little bit more appeal, but we at least do that as a default. and
Yeah.
Say, we're picking the spring because there's not a, great.
At one point, I did a 5K layout, starting here and finishing here, and kind of ran through this neighborhood up towards Blackburn. I might have actually even gone through Blackburn, so it went out the parking lot onto Colebrook, maybe up Jackson, into Blackburn Park, you ran through Blackburn Park, and then maybe you came back down Glendale. And so it shut down this, I don't know, what is it, 12 blocks or so? Because those folks that live inside those raceways don't love these races, because,
Mhm.
you know, they can't get out of their house on Saturday morning for an hour, or whatever it might be. So if they're trying to go to the grocery store, their kid's got a soccer game and they can't get out to get their kid to their soccer game because there's 500 walkers or runners going past their driveway. It can get a little fussy sometimes. But that's, if you're only talking 5K, I think you can make that. I think the half marathon is, unless you want to run a loop 2 or 3 times.
No, that's
Give you
fair.
troubles.
I brought it up because I was like, it'd be cool to connect multiple parks. And there's nothing like that around. Like, no
Right.
one's done it. It's all these little 5Ks, which are fine. but there's no one or no communities around that's done with a big race event. And
I'm
that
not-
could be interesting, because there's really only the Go, like in St. Louis, there's
Right.
only 2 tracks, but it's a much bigger, that might be like Go Big 2 years from now.
So I'm not a runner, so find me a route and bring it back, and
Okay.
I'm happy to look at it and take it up
I
the
will.
ladder and get PD's buy-in, because they're the ones that might have to sell it. Because they're the ones that have to man the streets and shut down the streets and that stuff, so if we can get them to buy into it, I'm not opposed to it. I'm a tug of war guy, not a runner, so.
I love the idea of finding a way to make it like park themed somehow.
Somehow.
As
Just
it will
so
be
kind of
unique,
clarify.
yeah.
I'm wondering, hello?
Yep.
I was wondering if like a scavenger hunt at the different parks, like they'd have to find, a start and an end time, they have to find certain items in each of the parks, maybe something like that.
So I've definitely seen those. We used to do those in my youth group. It was like a photo scavenger hunt back when Polaroids were actually a thing still. You had to drive around town and take a picture of the arch or whatever it was and bring it back. So those are things that I've seen done before, for sure.
Yeah, kids would be-
Somebody said triathlon, so kids triathlon is something that I've always thought about. And you could,
Some love to do, so.
you could swim here, you could run the track, and then we just have to find a bike. And, for a kids triathlon, you're talking, what are they, maybe gonna run a mile, they could run the track 4 times for that. They're gonna bike, 3 miles maybe?
Yeah, that's.
So that's a 5K, you could do that same loop kind of through here, or they could even, if we got the school involved, this whole 48, if they rode all the way around just this property 3 times, that might be enough for some kids, and then.
Would you still contract out through like a big river, or would you go, or would you be willing to take on some, or do you think the small volunteers could take on some?
I think you're gonna need to get a timing company no matter what, because people are gonna wanna have their actual time. And I don't have the capacity or the technology to, when you cross that starting line, your time starts, and when you finish, your time stops, short of having each person has a stopwatch, and it's like, we blow the whistle and everybody starts a stopwatch. Well, if you're the kid that's 50th in line, you got no chance of winning because you didn't start when the first people started.
So can like any of us reach out to Big River Racing, or should we maybe package this up in one request and say, hey, here's 3 or 4 ideas we're looking into?
Yeah, if we want to do a run, I think I don't know if you guys talking about doing sponsorships for like T-shirts and putting logos and stuff like that on it, getting a course that we like, contact. It would be nice to get that $1,500 sponsored somehow, so we didn't have to pay out of pocket for Big River to do it, or whoever we're gonna have.
Are we
do stuff like
very confident that's about what it costs to get them on board?
I can find out exactly, but it's. in the
Could
neighborhood,
we-
yeah.
Is this too slow if we ask them to come and make a presentation at our next Parks and Rec meeting? And
I
just,
think they're gonna tell you the same thing, you need to find a route, figure out how many people.
but I mean, what if we could find some
Yeah.
routes by then and talk more specific with them, or is that just something we should do one-on-one?
I think we can just make that phone call. I'm dealing with them right now for Turkey Day. We're just starting the sales for Turkey Day right now, so I can make that call and find out what the cost would be. Actually, just ask my staff, because they know off the top of their head, because they just signed a contract to do it for Turkey Day, right?
But is it different for different types of races if it was just?
No, it's at minimum, so I think, like I said, I think we paid $1,500 and get the first 1,000 or 2,000 racers, and then everybody above that, you pay an additional $1.50 per runner over the top of that. So that initial $1,500 is baked in whether you have 100 runners or 1,000 runners, because that's what it costs them to bring all the equipment and staff out.
And
So,
it's the 40K that we make for the Turkey Day run, is that just our portion of the runner's fees?
and upsells for sweatshirts or
Oh, okay.
hoodies or whatever we do, This year it's in a long sleeve, like dry fit type of shirt. So in orange or red, which city you're from. So,
You want Brian's?
I think the triathlon.
That'd be
I
awesome.
think a kids triathlon, I don't think we got the space to do an adult, but a
Oh,
kids
no.
triathlon would be really cool. Saturday morning, we've got 6 lanes in the pool, so kids will have to, they won't all start at the exact same time, but, you can send the first 6 or 12 outs, and then as they get out, you can send off the next batch, so you have to have time to do that.
We used to just, one jumped in and went to the next, and then it's swim down one lane back to the other.
Or you can do the reverse, and send them all off running first, because then, because then when they get to the pool, they're staggered out. And so, you have infinite capacity on the track or whatever, and whereas you have limited capacity. in the pool, so. But,
How much can you charge these kids?
$25, I think, would be easily, and, I think for a first year to be a successful event, I would want to see 200 kids do it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some marketing, that needs to happen. Whether you take it to the PE teachers in the school, whether you take it to running clubs, parents that are already runners, kids involved. But I don't think there's a whole lot of kids triathlon events around. There are a few that I've seen, some other parks departments, but they're not big, they're not huge. So. But I'm not against adult runs either. I'm just talking about the PEs and triathlons. I don't think we can run a field track.
I know the adults kind of want to ride around the parking lot.
Did you have more?
No, well, I was gonna bring up, you brought up pickleball last meeting, pickleball tournament, I thought that was a good idea too.
I think that's pretty easy. It's a 1-day event. Cost on it is virtually nothing to put together. And pickleball's the hot thing right now. So I think you could easily pick up 60 or 80 people to come out and play pickleball for a tournament day. $20 a person or something like that. We're not making billions of dollars here, but it's an event and it's a fundraiser. So, and you guys could help with the scorekeeping, concessions and stuff like that. There's a guy that helps us run. We've had a couple tournaments, so we probably have him actually run it. So he would do we take reservations and stuff, but he kind of sets the tournament schedule, programs the team, takes care of the bracketing as we move through the tournament, announcing who's up next on the courts. So I think that would be a pretty easy one to bang out on a Saturday, Sunday, Friday nights, whatever you want. I'd do it up here. Yeah, because we're buying more pickleball nets up here, so we'll have 8 pickleball courts. We have 8 pickleball courts on the new courts. We needed to. We've got 3 that are painted on the action part. They're not nice, obviously. So I would think 8 would be plenty there. That's a lot of pickleball all the time. So
Do you need like line judges, right?
it's self-scored. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how the
That
game's
sounds
that's how the game's played. And, if you can't agree on it, it's just a replay the points. So.
Not an activity, but when the pool is redone, is there already a plan to sell some kind of commemorative gift to people to raise money?
Well, I hope not. But it's a great idea.
I know, it's sort of cheesy, we probably need to do it just in a dedicated area, like a courtyard or whatever, but it's just.
If it's just a one-time thing, I'm all for it because it is an easy money maker.
Right,
If it's an ongoing thing where you can continue to buy bricks there,
That's a pain.
it's a pain. Like right now, you can still buy bricks and nobody buys them at Blackburn anymore. But Barbary Park, people are still buying bricks.
Mhm.
Well, I need 9 at a time because we do rows across the sidewalk. And so I always have like 5. And everybody's like, when are my bricks gonna get installed? Well, when I sell 4 more, because
Right.
I can't cut half the sidewalk out and leave the other half with a hole where my steps in. So, but for the new pool, yeah, you could totally do that. Out front in the
It's like sort of
entryway,
free money,
yeah,
but,
it really is. Yeah.
I also had thought of like Dana's park themes run, but another one was kind of similar to Lindsay, just thought what I like to do. Trivia nights are usually big, so like a
Yeah,
Webster
those are
themed
fun.
trivia night. that is a little bit more work on our part to like get, you know, some types of, I wouldn't say sponsorship, but people could have a silent auction and be
They're
bidding
insane.
for, I mean, that goes for crazy.
You
money.
gotta invite, we're not Catholic, you gotta invite it to movie theater, come out, we need $100,000. And we're walking home and I'm saying to my husband, tipsy, because they award whatever winning table wins the item with a round.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, tell me I'm not Catholic, it was so fun, and I'm like, $100,000.
Yeah,
It was
it's a lot.
insane.
But I mean, a lot of them, you know, each parish has them, each, you know, elementary school has them as well, so we need to be like cautious of when those other things were.
Right.
And then how does the city feel about us, you know, sending out emails and calls to our businesses to say, hey, would you be willing to donate? Are we fine on stuff like
So
that?
there's a good question. I'll have to run up the flagpole. Steve Wiley, the previous city manager, didn't like me, employees going out and doing it because it's a little like graft, you know, and it used to always be that like the building inspectors would hit up the restaurants while they were there inspecting. It's kind of like, and we're not gonna say you won't get passed, but if you give us $50 gift card to give away at the city holiday dinner to, you know, as part of it just didn't.
Yeah.
So I need to ask the new city manager how she feels about that. I think it would be different coming from residents themselves, the commission, as opposed to employees. I wouldn't see a problem with that.
It's,
That's a
well,
really good point, though. I think the problem that you're gonna find right now is they're all online auctions. Like they took, like Bristol and Edgar Road, they all had them and they made a ton of money, like Foley's too, but they all went online last year. And so it's not as fun. They don't make as much money because people aren't there drinking and playing games. They did a trivia night auction for, I think that's what mostly grade schools do.
Yeah, I think ours
And
is
then
online.
We never have them at the schools because you can't drink at public schools, but we always have them at a Catholic place, usually is what they run on the spot, just like Foley's. And, it is a good idea. I think we just need like maybe one more year. I don't think
I
this
know.
year is gonna be the year, but maybe next year.
Has anybody ever done a trivia night outside? Would it be too hard to hear? And I mean, a PA system, you would think would be able to cover. I mean, if we had it at a park, I've never seen one at a park, but I've never seen bingo in the parking lot until last year with COVID. You know, we got a big parking lot.
We got some to do the bingo, you see Xperia, they're calling out numbers. It's
Right,
the same
yeah.
thing, it's calling out questions.
Yeah.
Or have it on a board where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna read it instead of here.
How we could zoom it, the question, so people, if you're sitting at the far end, have it on your phone. The question is, the only thing is you get your phone out, you're also gonna go and Google the answer to this.
what part would you take?
I don't know. I mean, Blackburn or here are the ones with the biggest parking lots. So, you know, that Jackson parking lot, on, at Blackburn, is where we did a couple bingos, parking lot bingos this year and last year. And we got, you know, 40 or 50 cars, and still people bring their own chairs and stuff, but we could set up tables, chairs, like a normal trivia night does. We've got plenty of rectangular plastic tables. We've got 40 of those, plus I got all the ones in the meeting room, so I need them, and we could set up. Easy, put 50 tables out on Blackburn's parking lot. PA system, I don't know, silent auction stuff might be a little harder to figure out how to keep it on tables, nailed down so the wind doesn't blow it away. You've obviously got weather conditions. If you pick Saturday, April 15th, and it rains on April 15th.
You can do the auction stuff online and still have the people be there. And
Yeah.
they can go online and look at the items.
I think there's something, I mean,
They
I'm
do that
a huge
even at our
silent auction.
regular
I think
auctions.
there is something about writing your name on that clipboard.
Yeah.
Gets you, and you forget which ones you wrote down, and you can't see it like you can on your phone.
Also make sure people are drinking water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I could look in, I don't know, you couldn't do it outside, and then you get around the whole weekend together with hundreds of people.
It's a tent rental option.
Yeah, get pricier, but
Right.
I mean, your work just doesn't. drink all the time.
I had to look into like one of the big tents, like the Lions put up for the, you know, all the food tables. I had to look into what one of those rents were for the day, but you could certainly they can't be more than, let's say, $3,000. So, you know, if you're gonna sell 50 tables at $200 a table or whatever it is, $10,000 right there. So you spend $3,000 on a tent, and even if you gotta buy some booze, you can't get booze sponsored. You spend another $1,000 on beer and wine,
You have it
still walk
over
around
and
5,000.
like a,
Like that, have cash for it.
yeah, that's fine. But then you, I mean.
I'm
my
cheap,
shop
I would
is
bring
not-
it up. Not that guy.
I mean, the rest of one, they charged at the bar and it was like $45.
It was
Our
crazy.
tables were ridiculous. I'm like, I bought the table, I'm like, I don't know if everybody pays for that.
That's a lot.
And totally get the needing to wait a year. If there's a way that we could at least test the waters first to see if, you know, businesses were gonna be up for something like that. And, you know, I won't say like give it a try run, because that'd be a disaster, but I think it is, yeah, in a year or two, really good, but I don't know. if we'll pull it off.
How big is it? I mean, in a year or so, once we don't have all the requirements, then. if it's
We say we can put 200 in a deep.
A little smaller, one a little bit.
The gym would probably take probably that same 200 to 225 to 50 people at tables in the gymnasium.
And that's the only ones about that. Do they still do it in their gym?
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
And that's why I think maybe, I don't know, if you do it outside, you could have
Right, a lot more.
a lot bigger. But, and you said Webster theme.
I did, meaning like, you know, each, well, obviously the categories would be, you know, potentially Webster, but having, you know, all of the auctions be, you know, Webster-based
Okay.
businesses that are able to do, you know, some of that as well, so.
I was trying to think of all the questions, Webster theme. It's pretty cool stuff, probably.
Oh, yeah. That would be
Yeah.
going with that, yeah.
How many times have the lights is, what's your under? Type of thing. Cool.
So then like for next steps, for the big river company, you said you're gonna talk to them, but then for like trivia night, do we just have to hold tight because the timing's not right, or?
So I think we threw out a bunch of ideas. I think you guys probably need to skinny those ideas down into the 1, 2, 3, 5 that you think are the best that you want to run with. And then go from there, because it depends on how many you're gonna do, what timing frame you're looking at.
What's the pie graph of our goals here? I mean, is it just making money? Is it enthusiasm for Parks and Rec? Is it a community event to help us all get past the pandemic, all of the above? And then what is ratios?
It's your commission.
But what's the kind of the deficit? But you did mention kind of like a deficit,
Money.
Money, then enthusiasm, like those are my two. biggest-
because with your operating budget and a bit of a debt, like. 'cause
I mean,
you
I'll
run
never-
events now, right? Like you guys
Yeah.
do lots of stuff, so I guess what would be a good. Well, like in comparison this to what you're already doing, like we want this to be. Something.
You
And
know,
if we're gonna pair it with the parks, I mean, I think it makes sense to say something, especially if we're just putting it in the operating budget, you know, like we talked about shovels and things like that, you know, something along the lines of helping keeping our parks green and thriving or something like that, you know, like especially if it's an event that's related to the parks, you know, to kind of call attention to them and say, let's help fund keeping these the way they are or better. I don't know how to word it. I'm not good at the wording part, but
yeah, I think it really depends on when we're gonna do it. And there's certainly projects coming up that you could tie it to that specific project, whether that's to the skate park and raising funds for the skate park, whether that's to Ivory Crockett that we just did public input for, and we're looking to do some renovations to that park, whether it's to whatever the next big thing, what, you know, if we're 2 years out, we're planning, is it the new park at the McDonald's, you know, to raise funds to build that out. So I think there's opportunities to pick something, and I think we should pick something and not just say, it's operating expense, give us your money. Nobody cares about that. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
guess
if you have a tangible,
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that. I was trying to understand like what would be kind of a goal number we're shooting for, because I think there's like an E of some of these ideas, there's like ease of execution. So there's that, which would be kind of nice, but then there's also maybe like some that might be a little harder, but have potential to bring more money. So like we have kind of a range of what that might be.
again, I will throw this, if this is your commission, and it's you guys that are gonna, I think, do a lot of the work on this, so it's, what do you wanna see out of this? I mean, I'll never walk away from the green, so if it's $200 or
We'll be happy.
$20,000,
Okay.
It's not
For
gonna
me,
happen.
yeah, but it is, it's like, how much do you wanna do? Do you wanna come out every Thursday and drop ducks in the lazy river and make $200?
Mhm.
Or do you guys all wanna spend a month individually really attacking a trivia night to go raise, each person's gotta go get 5 silent auction items and that kind of stuff. And obviously I have staff that can help with the daily logistics, I'll rent the tent, I'll get tables set up and things like that, but is somebody gonna MC the trivia night? Are you gonna come up with 100 questions? Or are we gonna hire someone to do that, that kind of stuff. So it's really, I mean, you guys brought this up originally, and I'm all for it. I'd love for you guys to have something to sink your teeth into and to do, but it's how much do you want to do it? You don't work for me, so I'm not gonna tell you that you need to go raise $30,000. How you gonna do it?
No, of course not.
Something that would make me feel a little less crazy is if we could attack this in an organized way and maybe come up with some sort of algorithm and rank everything according to how much work, how much cost, how doable in our current shifting pandemic. What it would take to market, like how enthused will Webster residents be without any marketing, then how much marketing, and then how much money we would make, and just if we could somehow come up with a scale and rank everything, I think we would have a better assessment. And also be honest about what our time frame is, what availability we have, and how much work we can put into it. Maybe do that kind of an assessment if we can, do some legwork.
How about if I think I can put together a lot of that stuff and send it out on a doodle poll, and then maybe you guys can answer like, yeah, I think if my time, if it takes 10 hours of my time to do a trivia night and we make $20,000, I'm in. If it takes 2 hours of my time to do duck races and we make $400, is that kind of like what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
some of it might take a discussion in terms of like how enthused we think people might be. Like, I don't know, my kids aren't little. My kids are really health conscious, and they would love to be, they would probably do a triathlon, but they're not kids. But I don't know how many kids would sign up for triathlon, that kind of thing. So some of it, I don't know how we assess that kind of
That's-
engagement,
Some of those are hard, some of those you just throw them out there. We try an adult triathlon every year where you ride, it's in like winter time, so I guess that's not right, it's when the pool's open. But you ride the bikes in here, and then you go out and swim, and then you run on the track outside.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we have like 9 people sign up. Because it's not a real triathlon, it's,
Yeah,
you're riding the bike inside.
right.
So, and I think we tried biathlon, where you run on the treadmill and bike on the bike in here, same kind of deal. So some of those you can throw them out, and I don't know how you really market to kids triathlon.
Right.
I think trivia night, every trivia night sells out every time. I think that's a pretty low hanging fruit. And I think you can make a lot of money. I don't think it probably takes a ton of time, other than silent auction stuff. And, I don't know that you have to have silent auction. You could probably, if you wanted to tiptoe into it, just do trivia. Just sell the tables. It's BYOB, and we're just gonna sell tables for $250 or whatever the table costs. So we might only make $4 grand the first year. Next year you can add silent auction, you can get somebody to sponsor beer, you can sell a cash bar type. This doesn't have to be an all-in first time, unless you want it to be, in which case, have at it, but we can certainly go as big or small as you guys want to do.
It sounds like probably next spring is when any of these would hit.
I think you're gonna need a little bit of time to pull it together. I mean, you guys really only meet once a month normally. The next agenda item is November and December's meetings. So November is just scheduled for the day before Thanksgiving. I bet you guys don't wanna meet then. December, we normally don't meet. Normally we use the boards and commission holiday party. Which the city is trying to do something in person again this year. It's probably not gonna be as foodie as it has been in the past. I'm not exactly sure. They're still trying to do something. The city wants to thank you, rewards out there. Thank you for your service and do something. If you guys want to come to an in-person thing, then pick a date here. But yeah, I think to get it planned out, to market it well, to raise sponsorships, if you're gonna do that, I think you're probably looking at April.
Yeah.
May, June. And if it's July, then so be it. I don't think, pickleball tournament in July or something. Yeah, it's fine. Doesn't have to. I don't need 20 grand next month. So I'll take it if you come up with it.
We probably need to establish what date is good, so we can work backwards from it.
Right.
How much time is gonna be needed to plan, so we need probably, I'm not opposed, or I'm not lobbying for meeting the week of Thanksgiving, but if there's some way that we could get some of what we're talking about here, at least reviewed and agreed upon to say go or no go. Because, I mean, some of the basic blocking and tackling can be done over the holidays when people are in giving moods on sponsorships and stuff like that. We could at least get some email templates out to people and saying, hey, here's April, it's trivia night or it's a run or whatever it might be, and then just page it from there. But again, I don't want to do Wednesday night.
Exactly. The rates at 5 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
So
Can we mess with the day that we want?
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
let's finish this first before we go to meetings.
So real quick though, on your doodle poll, if you can also list out like what projects some of this could be attached to, because if it's a big one, that would be really fun to have, and that would be like where my mind would go towards a tribute night to say, hey, come raise money for the new pool or whatever it might be.
Sure.
But if it's smaller, then we could easily do a smaller type of.
So I'm just gonna read out what we kind of threw out and let's pick like 5 or 6. It's to doodle poll, and so I can get a decent amount of workflow and get back to you about it. So just in the order that they came out tonight: duck race, old time fair, food truck festival, workout-a-thon, fun run or a bike race, park scavenger hunts, bricks at the new pool, and trivia nights.
And the kids triathlon.
Kids triathlon. I didn't write that one down. Kids try pickle tournament. And I'll throw
Sorry,
out
so what was after fun run, bike race?
Park scavenger hunt.
park scavenger hunt,
And bricks.
Bricks.
bricks at the new pool.
Kids triathlon.
And then I'll throw out one other one, just because it is a fundraising opportunity. We can start selling advertising space on the rink boards or possibly the Zamboni if we want to. That's just a straight up ad sales campaign.
Isn't that kind of like bricks too? I feel like bricks isn't really an activity for us.
Yeah, I mean, bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've gotten approval to do it. It's just creating a marketing plan, coming up with a dollar amount, and then it's really the ask of businesses and community members or whoever it might be that wants to.
Telling them they have the opportunity.
Yeah. And I'm not the greatest salesperson when it comes to that, so that's something that's certainly out there that is not necessarily a ton of work, and it's not something that has a definitive timeline on it. It's just gonna be out there, and I think when we sell the first 1 or 2, then more will start driving in because people will see that they're out there. So out of those, which ones do we think have traction that you guys are like?
Pickleball.
I think those are gonna be the most money for the
Race or
Race.
tribe.
The race, yeah.
Or do you just think that it's not trying?
I've
I
honestly
really
been
do.
looking to get a triathlon going for my son, so I'd even be happy to do a lot of the work on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the park staff, and I'm wondering if we did do a longer run, like if we could pull off a half or something like that. If some family members could be doing the scavenger hunt while the run is going on, because not every run is longer runs, and then it'd be like a whole family day, but then that's probably more places shut down and the area.
And we can also just have a scavenger hunt. It doesn't have to be, it can just be a free event. I mean, you guys don't have to raise money. There was something that I saw at a conference a couple of years ago, it was actually a national conference. They did a Bigfoot thing, and it was all about Bigfoot in whatever city it was. And so they had staff that they got molds and they were going out and like making footprints of Bigfoot in the parks. And they would like take a picture of it, put it on social media. And then, hey, Bigfoot sighting was here. Can you figure out where here is? And so there'd be a small picture with Bigfoot's print or something that Bigfoot left. And then you'd have to figure out what park it was at, and you'd have to go there and take a picture of your phone and then tag it back to the Facebook page or whatever. The more tags you found throughout the month of Bigfoot month or whatever it was, or Yeti month or whatever. So something like that could happen and not be a fundraiser and still be a cool event that you guys.
And that's a good idea, just separate, if we
Yeah.
could swing that, because that would help your social media, like, getting people to like your page and know about more of the other events that you guys do, like, I like the page. You don't, get more followers, you guys see that.
I'd like to have more followers. We have quite a bit. We have several thousand, but 8,000 would be better than 2. So yeah. We don't get a lot of daily interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a Webster Yeti sighting. Gosh, it was the bear. Everybody lost their minds when the bear was in town. So and then the goats also. But, if you could theme something around that. So. All right, well, I'll get some numbers and try to put together what I think some of the time commitments those kind of events are, and I'll send it out to a Google poll so that the folks that aren't here to have a little explanation of kind of what we talked about, and then you guys can kind of start picking and ranking and voting on those, which ones you think you'd be the most interested in doing. And maybe it doesn't have to be everybody wants to do trivia night. Maybe if 4 or 5 of you want to do trivia night, you really want to do kids triathlon, and somebody else really wants to do whatever, they can certainly do that. Not everybody has to be involved for every single thing. So.
The other thing too that I think is a big factor too is how, like, we could do a colossal amount of work and get very few residents involved. And so that parameter is something that I like to know, like what we think in terms of whether or not it's worth it. Yeah, I was trying to avoid that, but because anything's worth it. But the 9 people doing that,
Yeah, what if we can kind of get gauges just from our friends?
right, yeah,
Some of the, whatever, how many you wrote down.
yeah.
I think a Webster
informal.
themed trivia night. So.
Like, are all the questions about Webster?
Yeah,
We can find a Webster story somewhere.
I was like, who's doing the question?
it's all Google, man.
Figure it out.
My
Maybe it.
great-grandparents had farms there, my grandparents walked between farms to go courting, so, yeah, it goes way back and long.
I mean, I think it can be, Elvis drove through town one time, right, on the way to go sing Jailhouse Rock or something, so it could be, it doesn't all have to be who was the first settler.
So I think people like to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
fun, super.
Maybe people are really.
Name all
interested, I
20,
don't know.
name all 20 parks. There's one
Yeah,
category. I've, without Google, I bet 12 people in town can name all 20.
They better
Oh,
go.
I mean, like.
Right?
I might miss one right now. I have alphabetical. Actually, I go cheap that.
Previous
I need to know
businesses
how
on
to-
Lockwood, there's a category right there that you can write and on hours. I mean, there's.
What'd you say on
Like
that?
previous businesses on Lockwood. so you can just,
Oh, whoa, that's a fun one.
Right,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be high school trivia of
Oh, yeah.
what year did they win state in women's softball or whatever, you know, so I think you could be. And I'm not even that sure, but in the 8 years I've been here, I bet you can put that questions pretty easily. You get a guy like Dave Buck involved or something like that, you know, some of those folks that are just around forever, yeah.
Yeah.
He seems like he'd be really good at true Dave Buck. So,
Sure.
all right, so I'll get that going and get that out to you guys.
Trivia on this.
I do have to, yep. All right, the next thing was November and December meetings. I'm fine meeting another date in November. I would really prefer not to be the night before Thanksgiving. I think that's silly.
Oh, yeah.
So, seems like Wednesdays are the best, and I can actually include this in the doodle poll because we've got two folks. Oh, just David's the only commission, it's not here, and Sarah, council liaison, is not here.
So like the
So-
17th.
If there's not gonna be a meeting in December for sure, because that's gonna be the party.
Well, we can certainly have one,
Because I was wondering if we'd sort of split it and do like December 1st or December 8th.
yeah.
And since we're not having a
That'd be good.
later, but it's not close to Christmas or Thanksgiving. which would
You
be
got a lot of work to
wonderful.
do here on this stuff, right? So.
It
Right?
depends on what you consider to be work. Most of this I'm gonna pull up my rear end. It's gonna be-
Yeah.
It looks like 6 hours here.
Yeah, I'm gonna call a friend who runs trivia nights and how long does it take you guys to do this, you know, New Year's Eve does it.
And then like the ivory crop people, I think would be.
Yeah, I'll tag them.
Well, my guess is, a lot of us around the table have done events before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of us we can probably give you fleshed out ideas about what we think the time frame would be.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, I like the first idea, December 1st.
7 o'clock.
That's fantastic, that works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So motion to make next meeting.
Tammy, are you still on? Is that December 1st? Wednesday night work for you? Yep. So yes, now go for your motion. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No problem. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Motion passed. All right, and then last thing,
So I've got some staff reports. It's 8:30. None of them are real pressing. You guys want to hear them or do you want to? Good. That's fine. We got a grant, big one. We got a $475,000 grant last week to do the addition to the
That's awesome.
front of the building for the studio, fitness studio. So that's the big one. And you can now sign up for what's your turkey.
What's the, timing?
I don't think it'll be online until this time next year. It hasn't been, there's been no construction documents or anything done on that yet, so we won't get the contract drawn up until December. And with the grant commission, and then we'll have to go out for architectural engineer drawing, which will take a few months, and then bid it out and construction. I think construction July-ish, open November, December-ish. And that's all COVID dependent on whether you can get contractors, whether you can get structural steel and all that jazz right now, so it could be 2023 before it opens, shooting to get it open. So,
motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
thank you all.
I like that duck race idea. Never heard one of those before. That's,
It looked really cool, the one that like the giant, but even
Yeah.
a small one.
what city was that in? That was there?
So. They didn't show this today. This is the exact. Whoever got it up on the
Yeah.
website that I saw. They didn't
Oh,
show it up.
yeah.
Bye.
Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Wonder if we could like Google.